So as you probably guessed by all of the hearts all over the place, we have a Valentine's Day video. Well, kind of like a Valentine's month videos. So tints everything red. Fun. So this is another one of the Disney couples ranking videos that I'm doing. This is actually the first one I'm recording because time frames. These are, of course, me ranking different Disney couples based on either, I'm doing the Princess Disney couples, I'm doing the human Disney couples, doing animal Disney couples, and then this one is miscellaneous Disney couples. And these are all couples that kind of the rules I'm following are, these are couples who are from animated movies, or in the case of one of the ones specifically on this list, the couple technically originated in an animated series, but the series started from a movie, so I'm throwing it in there because I can. And it's just me going through and ranking these different Disney couples. This one is going to be a miscellaneous one, so this is ones that don't necessarily qualify as human or animal, because one of them is glorifyingly a mix of two of them. Two of the couples on this are aliens. And a couple of them are just kind of, they're not human, even though they're human-like, and I'll be explaining those when I get to them. This is just a little, you can actually see it, there we go. Disney happily ever after type things. It's just different quotes or different moments from different Disney movies that are just extremely adorable, that are about love and different things like that. Different things about Sleeping Beauty and different things like that. There's also just like different things about like laughter and different things like that. We have Mickey and Minnie here, which actually is a great way of bringing us into the first couple that I have on this list. I have two couples that are on this list that are on honorary mentions because neither of them originated in a movie. Neither character originated in a movie itself, but I love the couples and I wanted to put them on here. So the first one on the list, or kind of the two honorable mentions, are Mickey Mouse and Minnie Mouse. And they both premiered in Steamboat Willie in 1928. Oh God, this thing is... Mickey and Minnie are almost 90 years old. And as I've stated, they're technically not married as far as I'm aware. They've been, quote unquote, married in various outside story media, but not like them canonically have not been married. That may change at some point in the future. Maybe on their 100th birthday, they'll do like a big Mickey and Minnie are finally getting married type of a thing. But of course, over the course of, 90 some years, we've watched Mickey and Minnie in so many different iterations. Mickey, just like so evolutionary of their, of their animation style. They're also, their relationship evolves. Minnie used to be originally the kind of, damsel in distress, quote unquote, but then that kind of changed around a lot. And, other news that has come out about Minnie Mouse recently with like her getting a pantsuit instead of, a short skirt all the time, which is, okay, fine by me. And so many of these other things that go along with Mickey and Minnie, and just, the way that they interact with each other. And like, there's so many different, there's ones where like Minnie is still a princess and like Mickey has to like save her, but she's also quite capable of saving herself at times. I play the Kingdom Hearts games, as I've mentioned, and in that Mickey and Minnie are married because he's King Mickey and she's Queen Minnie. So we see them a lot there, and like Minnie helps at various points in time throughout the course of Kingdom Hearts, which is just fun. And one of the other reasons that I really love Mickey and Minnie, and I've mentioned these people before, and they are Wayne Allwine and Russi Taylor. I've mentioned them before when I think I talked about the Mickey's Christmas Carol. One of those ones, I mentioned this. Wayne Allwine voiced Mickey Mouse from 1977 up until 2009 when he died. and he was the official voice of Mickey Mouse for that whole time frame. So pretty much my childhood and a lot of other people's childhood, he was Mickey Mouse. He was my childhood, my sister's childhood, pretty much most of my cousins that are older than me, and some of the ones that are younger than me. He was Mickey Mouse during that time frame. They have a new gentleman, of course, that's been voicing Mickey since Wayne Albright died, but still. And I've mentioned this before. He met his wife, Russi Taylor, because she was brought in to voice Minnie Mouse after, I believe, the actress either retired or died who had been voicing Minnie up in that point. Odd fun fact, Walt originated the voices of both of the characters because originally, you know, for like Steamboat Willie and like all these other ones, you know, he had to provide a lot of the different voices, like him and some of the other people that were, you know, doing all the animation. They had to provide the voices themselves because you couldn't really hire people to voice the characters. So, you know, he did the voices for them, but then subsequently, you know, once they got, you know, bigger and they were able to find people that could voice Mickey and Minnie better and do a little bit more than what Walt could do. And then, of course, you know, now they have people, you know, this is their job, that just, they voice Mickey and Minnie, of course. But Wayne Allwine and Russi Taylor, of course, met playing Mickey and Minnie. And there was a quote, I think it was just some either person that was involved with them. And, you know, there's a quote that he said about, I don't know if it was about Allwine or if it was about Taylor, but it was, the main piece of advice that Jim gave me about Mickey helped me keep things in perspective. Just remember, kid, you're only filling in for the boss. And that's the way he treated being Mickey for years and years, from Walt and now from Jimmy and so many other characters and everything like that. But you know, the two of them met, and you know they were the voices, the ones that did the voices in, you know, well, Allwine was in Mickey's Christmas Carol. I think Russi Taylor was. Okay, so she voiced a Minnie from 1986 until her death in 2019. So she voiced it for another 10 years, voiced Minnie for another 10 years after she lost her husband. But she still did it because it still gave her this connection to him. And they got to start out doing the voices for Mickey and Minnie for the English versions, of course, of Kingdom Hearts. And unfortunately, you know, she got to finish up Kingdom Hearts, I do believe, as Minnie, but they had to have a different gentleman come in and take over being Mickey, of course, at the time. But they loved each other so much, and that was just one of those things that I always just find so adorable about the two of them. Moving on to the next one, we have Mickey's best friend and Minnie's best friend, who are, of course, Donald and Daisy Duck. So Donald originated, of course, in 1934 is when he first came along. And then Daisy came along in 1937. She had like a predecessor at some point, but that one didn't stick around for long. And then eventually it was just like, we have Donald and Daisy, because it's like, well, we have Mickey and Minnie, so Donald and Daisy, which is just kind of fun. Of course, you know, Goofy came along in that time frame as well. But Donald and Daisy, I have always seen about having this very interesting relationship because, yeah, everybody knows that Donald Duck, of course, has anger issues and everything. But Daisy has always been one of those characters that knows how to handle Donald and knows how to, you know, just kind of stop him in his tracks when he's on one of his tirades or when he's on one of his, you know, just like terror streaks where he's just like destroying everything around him. She is one of those characters that can just like stop him and just like calm him down. And I think one of the best iterations that I ever saw of the way that they showed how Donald and Daisy about their relationship is in Fantasia 2000. There's the Noah's Ark sequence that is the Pomp and Circumstance sequences, I believe, the music that they used for, which is usually what they use at graduations, I believe, but in this case they use it in regards to Noah's Ark. And it's Donald is playing like Noah's assistant, and like of course Daisy is there. And like there's this, you know, if you've seen it, you've seen me talk, or if you've seen other videos of me, there is a Fantasia 2000 video where I do break down them quite a bit more. Where I break down the different couple or the different sequences in that, of course. And I go into this a little bit more in detail, but there's like, we see Donald and Daisy and like both of them for like the whole quote unquote 40 days and 40 nights that they're on the boat. both of them think that the other one has died, because it's like, they're all, via circumstances, they never end up meeting while they're on the boat. And then they're finally reunited at the end of the short, or at the end of the sequence, when, they're getting off the boat, and all the animals are getting off the boat two by two. And then, of course, Daisy and, Donald, are reunited at that point in time. And that's just one of my favorite things that they've ever shown for them. And one of the other things that I really loved is in the new iteration of DuckTales, or the the kind of reboot of DuckTales that they did a couple of years ago with, like, David Tennant as, Scrooge McDuck, and a bunch of other really good voice actors, and, actors and actresses as the different characters. Side note, Don Cheadle plays Donald when he is allowed to talk normally, which I just find adorable. So we have Rhodey from we have War Machine from Marvel voicing Donald Duck, which I just find so funny. But one of the things that they did in, like, the last season of DuckTales is they finally brought in Minnie, and they show this moment where they show Donald and Daisy, or they finally bring in Daisy, excuse me, and they show where Donald and Daisy finally get to meet. And it's like, it doesn't have a very good in person at the first time. Donald, like, sees her and kind of falls in love instantly, and Daisy is a little bit less like, who is this guy type of thing. But, like, eventually, like, he does, he's very sweet to her, and eventually, like, they do end up having a very nice relationship with each other. And of course they do kind of fall in love, and, like, Donald is kind of ready to give up his life of, like, adventuring with the family to go and get to spend time with Daisy, because now the triplets have their mother back at that point in time, of course. And he wants to go and have some time with Daisy, for the two of them, just to be like a couple together, because for the however long the triplets have been alive, since the sister left, got shot into a rocket and got lost in space on the moon. Go watch DuckTales, it's good. It's really good. But throughout the course of that season, we see Donald and Daisy kind of build a bit of a relationship, and I think she helps at the end against whatever the last big bad was, or something like that, or she's, like, involved with that, so that's just kind of nice. Okay, now we get into more of the official list that I have here, and I have 6 couples on this list. I was like going through all the different Disney movies, and I just, like, as I said, it's like I have the princesses on one list for, like, their couples, and I have, like, human, animated human couples on a different list, and then of course I have the animal couples on, like, a separate list. The animal list also includes, like, the anthropomorphic animals from, like, Robin Hood. So, they're anthropomorphic in the fact that they act like humans, but a lot of the time with Disney, it's still like, well, they still act like humans anyway, so whatever. But this one is full of kind of the miscellaneous couples that, like, they're not human, they're not animals, they're not this type of stuff, so this is where they fall. So, the first one on the list are another kind of Fantasia 2000 reference, is the Ballerina and the Tin Soldier from the Steadfast Tin Soldier sequence in Fantasia 2000. Now, these two, I really love the sequence. Hans Christian Andersen fairy tales have always been some of my favorite. Little Mermaid, Ice, the Snow Queen, which of course is what Frozen is based off of. And then of course we have the Ballerina and the Steadfast Tin Soldier. And in this sequence, of course, we see them, kind of meeting, and of course it's the adorable sequence of, like, oh, he sees her and he thinks that she only has one leg the way that he does, and then, like, he's sad when she sees she doesn't have two, that she has 2 legs. I mean, not sad that she has 2 legs. He thought it was like, oh, you're not like me, you're not going to want anything to do with me. And then, like, he tries to be really sweet, and then she, they start playing and everything, and he gives her, like, a fake flower, and she puts it on her dress, which is adorable. And they start kind of playing and dancing around a little bit. And then we have the evil Jack in the Box that comes into play, and he, knocks the Tin Soldier out of a window, and then, via, whole logic of the thing, the Steadfast Tin Soldier ends up back at the same house, like, within, like, the next day or 2 days or whatever, after he goes on this adventure and gets swallowed by a fish. And then, he gets back, and he's able to then help, protect, the Ballerina from the evil Jack in the Box. And, he helps save her, and the Jack in the Box gets thrown into, like, the furnace and burned alive. This is a very disturbing way of putting it, but that's what happens in the series, in the short, in the sequence. And then, of course, the ballerina and the steadfast tin soldier, reunited at the end of the sequence. And of course, it's, they get to be happy now and everything. I just always, this movie came out, Steadfast tin or Fantasia 2000 says 2000 came out in 1999. Just the tail end of 1999. But, I've always liked that sequence. Most of the sequences in Fantasia I usually really like. And that's just one of the ones that I really, really like. Number 5 on my list are Fix-It Felix Jr. and Sergeant Tamara Calhoun from, Ralph Breaks, from Wreck-It Ralph / Ralph Breaks the Internet. And they came out in, 2012 is, of course, when Wreck-It Ralph came out. And of course we see, throughout the course of the, the movie, we see, the two of them interacting with each other and, all of that. And of course he kind of falls for her first because he's just like, he's like, enamored with her high definition, which is just so funny. And she wants nothing to do with him. She is just very, down to brass tacks, down to business, will, do everything that she can. To, do her mission and everything. It's like her first relationship, of course, as we find out via her backstory and her coding, didn't go well. Her, fiance got eaten by the bugs on their wedding day, which is just bad. But of course, throughout the course of the movie, we see that, he helps, save her. They save each other from the nest quicksand. And, then of course he's just like staring at her like, oh, you're so not so pretty. I just find that so funny. It's like he's well aware of the fact that she can very much handle herself, but he's still just like, oh, you're so pretty. Of course they go through that sequence, and then of course at the end of the movie is of course when I guess Felix did something, and then of course Calhoun is the one that kisses him. And then they kiss again, and then of course we have the wedding, and the whole big wedding ceremony and everything, which is so nice. And then of course they cut to in Ralph Breaks the Internet. Of course that they're very happily married. It's been like 5 years or whatever. They're very happily married and everything. And it's like have a good day in your game, honey. Yeah, you do too. All that fun stuff and everything. And then of course they adopt the kids from Sugar Rush via plot, and that's just hilarious. And like they're just little hellions. No hellions. Oh god, no. But they end up being really good parents, which is just nice. I like them. Next up, we have the reason for the shirt, and we have them sitting over here. We have Stitch and Angel. Okay, so the way that I work these in here, the reason that I'm allowed to put them in here. Stitch, of course, originated in Lilo and Stitch that came out in 2002. My thoughts on that are, of course, way back on the all the other Disney reviews that I have. Go look up Lilo and Stitch. There's like 3 videos about the entire thing. And then Angel came out in the series. She's one of the other. She's like, because Stitch is experiment 626. I think she's experiment 624 or 623, one of the two. Because Stitch was, of course, made after, because all the experiments minus like 3 were all made before Stitch. And she's really close to Stitch in the design and everything. In the process of like when Jumba made her, she was really close to Stitch. And I've always loved Stitch and Angel ever since they introduced Angel in the series. And she's this, her role as an experiment is that her singing can make the experiments turn evil, and then if she sings her song backwards, it reverses what happened. It reverses that. And it doesn't work on Stitch, so she could sing to Stitch all she wants, but it's not going to make Stitch turn evil. It affects all the other experiments. But Stitch just instantly just has this huge amount of affection for her, and she's his budgie boo, which is just adorable. It's Stitch language for, I guess, like mate, soulmate, girlfriend, whatever, budgie boo. And of course, so we have all of that, and of course, she ends up, of course, her one true place is with Stitch. Of course, she does end up getting to be with Stitch, and then later on there's all the other animated series that they had, like Stitch, and then Stitch and Owie is, I think, one of the, or Stitch the series, and like several other ones that they did that I have seen snips of, and they're fine. But Angel's in those too, and so they have cute things with her and Stitch and that's just kind of adorable. Next up, we have our other alien couple on this list. We have Dr. Delbert Doppler and Captain Amelia, who is, of course, from Treasure Planet, which came out also in 2002. And of course, their first interactions with each other are not very good. She kind of is like very teasing, and it's very this like cat and dog relationship. Although it is stated that the directors and the creators of the movie have stated that they are of the same species. It's just their species is that the dogs look like men. The males look like dogs. Sorry, the dogs look like men. The males look like dogs, and the females look like cats. Is what their species is designed to be. So they are the same species, but it's the whole joke of, they fight like cats and dogs type of a thing. And like initially, of course, the two of them do not get along. And then of course they do end up slowly getting better and better in their relationship. And like she sees that, his, astronomical advice is very useful in regards to like their sailing about in space and everything like that. That would be very useful in my opinion anyway. But we see all of this other stuff that they go through. And then, of course, she does end up getting hurt. Of course, when they're escaping the ship, Amelia gets hurt. And, when they're, inside of Ben's house, he's like, "Oh, aren't you a nice couple?" It's no, we're not together and we're not a couple type of thing. That joke there. And of course, at one point she's just like very like delusional. She's just like, "You have such beautiful eyes." Him, he's just like so frustrated, and it's so funny. Just so hilarious to watch. And then of course, they do kind of end up, he does treat her and get her better. And then of course, the two of them work together to, of course, escape from the bad guys. And then of course, they help, escape the exploding planet, which is also very good. And they, of course, survive. And, the end of the movie is, of course, we see that they obviously got married and then they have like 3 children, or it's like 4 children. It's either like 3 girls and a son, or it's like 2 girls and a son. One combination of that, some combination of those. They have 1 son and like at least 2 or 3 daughters. It's been a while since I've watched Treasure Planet. Well, it was within the year. It was less than a year, but it's still been a little while. And I've had so many other Disney movies go through my head since then. So we have them. I just like their relationship with each other. I just find it adorable for the two of them. Next up, we have the other couple that's represented over here. We have Jack Skellington and Sally Ragdoll, or Ragdoll Sally, depending on which way you want to put it. Technically, her other name is also like Sally Franken Finkelstein, because that would be the doctor that, of course, made her, who is somewhat of like her father / creator / kind of traps her in his house. They don't have a good relationship. Of course, throughout the course of the movie, we see that like Sally obviously has this big crush on Jack Skellington. Throughout the course of the movie, we see how just much she adores him on like Halloween itself. And when Jack is like doing all of his research on like Christmas and everything, she like sneaks herself out of her prison basically, and she sends him the very nice basket that has the bottle of like wine or whatever it is, and like the other stuff that she sent him. And I just always find that to be a very adorable thing that she does. But she's also very shy, and she of course tries to convince him throughout the course of the middle of the movie, tries to convince him to not do this Christmas thing, don't do this, tries to make him stop and everything. And like he trusts her to make his suit, which is a very nice thing to be able to, nice thing to show that, but he just is so focused on the Christmas thing that he doesn't realize that this is not what I'm supposed to do. Halloween is what I do, and of course that's his, journey through the movie. And he, of course, he goes and he saves her and saves Santa Claus, of course, from Oogie Boogie. That's, of course, the climax of the movie. Well, part of the climax of the movie. The other climax of the movie is Jack gets shot out of the sky and then has to have this big sequence where he's just like, why did I do this? But of course he saves Sally and Santa Claus, and of course Santa Claus goes on his way. And then of course we have the Simply Meant to Be song at the end of it. I was gonna say they're the first ones on this list that actually have like a song together because like I mean like I'm sure like I know that Minnie and Mickey have like sung together at various points in time. I know that throughout the course of like the almost 100 years that they've been around, and same thing with like Donald and Daisy have probably sung together at various points in time. But the other couples on this list really don't have like a song that goes with them. Jack and Sally are what on this specific list are one of the only ones that does, if possibly the only one that does. Because of course Jack and Sally, of course, simply meant to be this, the end of the movie, and it's when they finally, it was like when Jack finally realizes that Sally is, the one that I'm meant to be with, and everything that, you are the one that I'm supposed to be with, and I just always love that. They're always just this adorable couple that I love together. So cute. And I have seen merchandise and like fan art that people have drawn of like Jack and Sally, like on their wedding day, like with Sally in like a ragdoll style dress. It's still like this beautiful patchwork dress. And of course people have done fan art of like Jack and Sally with like children, that like the sons look like Jack and the daughters look like Sally to a degree, which is just adorable. And then we move on to our last couple that's on this list. I have nothing to represent them except I have rabbits in the background. We have Jessica and Roger Rabbit. I have no shirts that have Jessica Rabbit on them. I have a couple of figurines that's a Jessica Rabbit. I went through a Jessica Rabbit phase at one point in time, which is not a problem. I've loved Who Framed Roger Rabbit ever since I was a kid. It came out in 1988. At some point I will do a review of the full movie. My dad and I actually watched it recently, over like a Saturday night when I just wasn't feeling very good, and I just want to watch Roger Rabbit. Okay, we'll watch that. So I've loved Who Framed Roger Rabbit ever since I was a kid. It came out like 4 years before I was born. I just love it so much, and I love the relationship that they show between Roger and Jessica, and that's one of the reasons that they are my favorite couple out of these miscellaneous Disney couples. Because, throughout the entire movie, it's, Jessica is trying to do what she can to protect Roger's career, because she's doing what Arcade Maroon says in order, playing patty cake and everything, with, Marvin Acme in order to help protect Roger's job. And then, of course, I love the thing. I was just like, well, I hit him on the head with the frying pan and then put him in the trunk, so he wouldn't get hurt. Makes perfect sense. And of course, we have the whole sequence where it's just, I'm not bad. I'm just drawn that way. I do anything for my husband, Mr. Valiant, anything, all this other stuff that goes along with that, with the two of them. And, with Roger, it's, he's so distraught when he thinks that Jessica is, cheating on him, playing patty cake with another man, with Acme. And he's just so distraught over that, he, charges out of the office, out of, Arcade Maroon's office after he sees the pictures that Eddie Valiant gives him, and he charges off. And he had described her as, she's the apple of my eye, she's the cream in my coffee, she's, she's his everything type of thing, and he just loves her and adores her. And it has nothing to do with the way that she looks. I'm sure Roger gets, going down a less PG-13 route, I'm sure Roger rather enjoys the way that Jessica looks, but that's not the point of the movie. And, that's not the point of Roger and Jessica's relationship. And it is really the whole thing that I see with Roger and Jessica has always been, Jessica says to Eddie Valiant when he says, seriously, what do you see in that guy? And she goes, he makes me laugh. And, I've always loved the relationship of the fact that Jessica is this, drop dead gorgeous bombshell, very much, the exact, very much, in all honesty, Oda-style proportions of drawing a woman, with the very big top and the very mini waist and the, all the assets in the right places and everything. And, she can sing and she can, just intimidate the heck out of anybody. And I've always loved that about her. And the person that she chooses, that she wants to spend her life with, is Roger. And she just adores him and he adores her. And, she's like, I've loved you more than any woman ever loved a rabbit. I'm like, how how many other women have loved a rabbit more than you would? Not going down the PG-13 route, the non-PG-13 route. But yeah, I've always loved Jessica and Roger, and one of the things that, like, there's different, side art of the two of them, of, like her taking care of him after he had like a hard day's work and everything, it's Arcane Maroon that says, he's a toon, you can drop whatever you want on his head and he'll shake it off, but break his heart and he goes to pieces just like you or me. And then one of the other moments that I see that's just that I've always loved with Jessica and Roger is that, Roger, hears that, oh, his wife is cheating on him and everything like that. And in his fit of rage, he goes to her dressing room, and instead of going to like kill Marvin Acme, as everybody thinks that he did, except for Valiant, of course, and Jessica, he's like, he goes to her dressing room and he does the whole, love letter, with the lipstick, and instead of writing it on the mirror, he writes it on, the letter, on the blank pieces of paper and everything that, of course, turned out to be Marvin Acme's will at the end of the movie, of course, via plot point of the movie. But, he writes her a letter, and I just find that so adorable. Instead of going and hurting the guy that, his wife was, supposedly cheating on him with, he's just like, no, that's not what I'm going to do. I'm going to go and write my wife a love letter and remind her how much I love you. And that's just one of those things that I've always loved about Jessica and Roger. And she just adores him and everything. And, it's like, come on, Roger, let's go home. I'll bake you a carrot cake at the end of the movie. And, they're just adorable together. And, they did like some Who Framed Roger Rabbit shorts at times, and like Jessica's in several of them as like a nurse or whatever. They're with Roger, and I know that there had been talks for them to do like a Who Framed Roger Rabbit 2, but unfortunately, the gentleman that played Eddie Valiant unfortunately passed away several years ago. So that wasn't happening unless they end up doing something where it's just like, oh, Eddie had a son, which they can try to pull that off, but I don't know. But, Jessica and Roger are my top of this, in regards to miscellaneous couples. Side note, I will be doing videos about like Pixar couples at some point in time, but that'll be after I've watched all the way through all of the Pixar movies. Because I haven't done that yet. At the recording of this, we haven't started that yet. But I will end up doing videos, doing like a rankings video of like all the different couples that are in Pixar, at some point, probably next year around Valentine's Day again. And then in regards to a couple of other miscellaneous Disney couples, I may do another video at some point where I go over some of the couples that are from Disney animated shows that I like. So that would be like Elisa and Goliath, of course, from Gargoyles, and like Kim and Ron from, Kim Possible. But that'll be at a different point in time, once I've had like a little more chance of like, okay, well, let's see what other ones there are that I would throw into that list. That would be those couples that I would want to talk about. Now, just because I have certain couples at the bottom of these lists as opposed to the top or in the middle, that doesn't mean that I don't like the couples. If a couple's on any of these lists, that means that I really, really like them anyway. And that goes for all the other lists too. So I thank you very much for watching. I hope that you enjoyed the video, and comment about which one you think is your favorite Disney miscellaneous couple. So, bye. Have a nice day. Roger, darling, I want you to know I love you. I've loved you more than any woman's ever loved a rabbit.